Ryan916. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, welcome back to the channel. So in this particular video, we're going to do an in-depth toolbox tour video as requested by a subscriber. So he asked me to do an updated toolbox tour. So you ask and you shall receive. So we're going to do an in-depth toolbox tour like I stated. And we're going to go through this box here, everything that's in it, all the drawers, and we'll do more in-depth as far as what name brand tool I have, why I purchased the tool, and you know, why is that tool in the drawer to begin with. Also got a Husky box over here in the corner, and another small, like cheap Walmart little box that I bought a long time ago. I think it's a Stanley box. So I got 4 toolboxes that I operate out of. Well, 3 toolboxes, 1 tool cart right here. I can't squeeze all of it in one video. It's probably going to be too long. So we're going to start with the red cart, and we're going to do an in-depth tour on this red toolbox. So let's get started. All right, so we'll start up top here because I do have my earmuffs here. Always keep a pair of noise canceling earphones. If you do this professionally, it's a good idea to get you a set of them if you don't have them. Especially if you do a lot of suspension work, you'll probably need these the most. But I like to just keep them here so that they're handy to grab. If I have to go and hunt for them, I probably won't put them on. So I just leave them hanging right here so I can grab them easy. So yeah, make sure you wear your earmuffs. And of course, I got a magnet tray here. These come in handy. Throw bolts up here and whatnot. Self-explanatory. Got a magnet tray up here. Also, I got some clips that I leave handy here for timing belts or serpentine belts. These little clips come in handy to hold things in place. And so I just sort of leave them up here if you're soldering wires, or if you need to hold something out of the way or something, some electrical wires out of the way. You can use these to sort of hold stuff out of the way, as well as hold stuff together while you do whatever you need to do. All right, so that's what I got up here. Okay, so this is my daily driver stuff. So we'll just go through it and I'll show you in detail what all I'm using here. We'll start from the back and we'll work our way up. This here is my spark plug sockets. This happened to be a Snap-on 5/8 spark plug socket, and with a magnet in it. I prefer spark plugs with magnets, and I don't necessarily like the rubber boots because they do get stuck on the spark plug, or they could get stuck down in a spark plug well, and I just really don't have time to deal with that. So I don't typically use spark plugs with the rubber boot, or spark plug sockets with the rubber boots in them. And let's see here. I also have a 5/8 spark plug socket without a magnet, just a straight up 5/8 spark plug socket, just in case I need to use it without a magnet. I have that. And then the next up is going to be and this was a Companion brand. That's like a cheaper Sears brand. Are you guys familiar with that? Companion. So, and I've actually had this thing for a really long time. Next up is going to be my 3/4 spark plug socket, and this is made by Craftsman, and this one actually does have a rubber in it. However, I don't change too many spark plugs nowadays that's this size, but if I do, I have one. All right. So this is a 13/16 spark plug socket. This one also has a rubber inside of it, and this is also a Craftsman tool. So we got that. And moving on up, this is a 18mm metric size spark plug socket with rubber in it. And then last but not least, we have a 14 millimeter spark plug socket. This is specific for a Mini Coupe. Yeah, so this is specific for Mini Cooper. I do have customers that have Mini Coopers, actually more than one. So I do work on quite a few Mini Coupes, and so I keep these. They're a special socket. So that's what I have as far as spark plug sockets go. That's handy here. So that brings us down to my socket tray here, the red socket tray. The socket tray itself is a Blue Point socket tray that's magnetic. We'll see how good it is. So you can see it's a pretty decent magnetic socket tray that holds them all in there. So it's a Blue Point, which we all know is made by Snap-on, and we'll see what we got in here. We got all these are mid-deep sockets. This is a Snap-on, made by Snap-on. This is let's see if you can see that. It's a 19 millimeter made by Snap-on. I don't know if the camera could pick that up or not. It looks like there's some glare. But this is all Snap-on this back row right here. And this is the semi-deeps. And then on this side right here, the front is going to be shallow size sockets. And these are all Williams brand sockets. So these are Williams. I have quite a bit of Williams tools. This is a Snap-on affiliate, much like Blue Point. And I'm going to also show you guys how similar Williams and Blue Point is here in a second. Okay, so all of these are Williams, except for my 12 millimeter, which is a Craftsman, but I had that in there temporarily. So I've been using that 12 millimeter Craftsman for a while, but I got a replacement that came in. This is a Williams replacement. This is a Snap-on company or affiliate, and you can see on here on the bag it says country of origin, Taiwan. I don't know if that shows up or not, but it also says it on the socket too. So I thought I'd go ahead and replace this 12 millimeter that I lost while I'm doing my tour. So now I got my set back complete. Craftsman was a good fill-in for a couple weeks. All right, so that takes us down to my next row of sockets. These are all 3/8 drive, by the way, 3/8 square drive. And same thing with this one here. This is 12 point. This is a Snap-on like case that they give you when you buy a set of Snap-on sockets, but the sockets that are in there are actually Craftsman sockets. I don't know if you can see that, but I got some Craftsman 12 point. I got from 21 millimeter. It's actually 21 here, and then the rest is 19 through 8 millimeter. And that's what I have in this Snap-on tray here. That's magnetic as well. I prefer to use magnetic trays if I can. I really think it's easier to grab, but you don't have to worry about these little things breaking like on these Hansen trays. So I've always been a fan of the magnet trays. Anyway, so that's what I have right here. Next down the line is going to be a set of Craftsman 1/2-inch drive sockets. The thing about these Craftsmans too is anybody who has these know the etching wears off on them, and you really can't tell what size it is. You know, I try to write 11 millimeter on there, even that's starting to wear off. So that's one huge disadvantage about these sockets when that etching starts to wear off. It's nice at first, but when it starts to wear off, you really can't tell
you know, what size you have. So anyway, so that's what I have here, and this set is 19 millimeter through 9 millimeter. Same thing with this one. This one's wearing off, and I tried to draw a 9 on there. All right, so next down the line, and that's 1/2 inch. So next down the line is going to be not semi-deeps, but full deep sockets, and these are made by Tecton. These do have some skips in here, and it's not my favorite socket set, I will say that, but it gets the job done. This set goes from 19 millimeter, so Tecton, and there's some skips in there, so it's gonna go 19, 17, so we skipped to 18, 15. All right, so it's 19, 17, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. So we got the 18, which is a pretty common size, it's gone, and 16 millimeter is becoming more and more common nowadays, not just on BMWs or European vehicles, but you run across 16 millimeter a lot more nowadays. So this ain't the best deep set, but this is my chrome deep set. This is all I got for chrome. If there's a size that's not on here, I have to go to my other toolbox and grab like a deep impact socket. Or actually, I take that back. I have a deep impact socket that's in this cart that we'll get to later, but in chrome I don't have one. And these are Tecton 3/8 drive. Next in the cart is a set of Allen sockets here, which I've had for at least 5 years, maybe even longer by now. You can see I've gone through and used pretty much every size in here, even the largest one. Excellent product from Harbor Freight. I've never had a problem with these Pittsburgh Allen sockets. So I got a set of these Pittsburgh Allen sockets. Also have a set of Craftsman Allen sockets too, but I like the tray that it came on already, so I just used the Pittsburgh, and it's convenient to just toss them in here. So I got those there. So we'll go over here and take a look at what's on the side, what I usually put on my side here. And so I got a couple mirrors here. Got some inspection mirrors here. So here I got my magnet retrieval tool in case you drop something down in the engine compartment. You know, you can fish it out or whatever. So I got that. Let's see, that's pretty much all I keep on the side. I got 2 mirrors here, but I usually have one smaller size mirror and one larger size, but for some reason I don't know what happened to the smaller size mirror. It's probably around here somewhere. And then I keep my snap-on screwdrivers up top here. So these are my snap-on screwdrivers of various sizes that I keep here. And reason why I do have a drawer full of the screwdrivers that I use on a day-to-day basis. Well, I use these on a day-to-day basis, but I have I should say screwdrivers that I put through a little more heavy use than these snap-on ones. And the reason why is because these snap-on screwdrivers are really good for really only driving screws out. You really don't want to beat these up. For example, the no hammer symbol on most of the snap-on screwdrivers, which I could agree with because these are soft handles and they really do feel somewhat soft. So you really don't want to go hitting on these, and you want to just use these to drive screws in and out for its real purpose. So I only use these screwdrivers to drive screws in and out, and I got some other screwdrivers down there that I use, you know, to pry with, to scrape with, you know, for whatever, hammer on them and beat them up. Got another long snap-on screwdriver. This is actually a remnant of the past. I bought this screwdriver when I was like a rookie, man, back in like 2000, 2001, a while back. I bought this, and I still have some in this cart that I keep in here. It's just nice to look back and see a tool that you've had for so long. It's just nice to keep around. Anyway, let's look at our quarter inch. So I'm pretty much running all Craftsman's on my 1/4 inch drive, with the exception to these two sockets. These are 15 millimeter, and this is a urea socket, and that's my 15 millimeter deep quarter. And then I have a SK shallow socket, 15 millimeter SK, 15 millimeter SK 1/4 inch drive. Everything from 15 millimeter all the way down to 4 millimeter, and also a 4.5 and a 5.5 in this as well. And then on the deeps, it's 15 all the way down to 4, and I don't have a 5.5 millimeter deep. I have this old 10 millimeter Mac socket that I bought years ago when I first started. It's one of my rookie tools, if you will, that I like to just keep around for nostalgia. Moving on to this back corner here, and what I got here is, this is just a 22 millimeter shallow socket, but it's a 1/2 inch drive, and I leave it there because it's a pretty common size socket. And so I leave it here because this set stops at 19, and so I keep this 22 around right here just because it's a pretty common size, and I reach for that size quite a bit. And then back here we have some inverted torque sockets, and same thing with these sockets. These style bolts are becoming more frequent, not just on European vehicles, but on American vehicles now as well. So I keep a set of these around, and these are made by Craftsman. And this socket is made by Duralast, AutoZone brand. So that brings us to my ratcheting wrenches that I have up top here. And I got starting with a 22 millimeter and skipped down to a 19, and then from the 19 it goes all the way down to 8 millimeter with no skips. So this is a Williams tool. Again, it's a snap-on tool. It's pretty much exactly the same as Blue Point in most applications. In fact, there's a Blue Point ratchet in here, or there's a Blue Point ratcheting wrench in here. It's pretty identical. Let me give you a close-up on it. So as you can see, the 10 millimeter Williams is pretty identical to the 10 millimeter Blue Point. So I mean, it's pretty much the same exact wrench. And so the Williams line and the Blue Point line, it's all pretty much just a snap-on product. So I couldn't find another 10 millimeter Williams when this one broke. So I just went with a Blue Point, which is pretty much identical. All right, so as far as ratchets go, first ratchet is snap-on, long handle, push button release, flex head, non-locking flex head. And this is my longest, it's not my longest 3/8 ratchet, I take that back, but this is one of my longer 3/8 drive ratchets, or I should say the longest 3/8 drive ratchet in my roll cart. Next down the line, I got there's another flex head, but this one is somewhat of a locking flex head. So that's the reason for having 2 flex heads in here, because they're actually 2 different style flex heads depending on what I might use it for. So this one sort of locks in place when you switch it around. So, and this is made by Gear Wrench. So next ratchet down the line, a snap-on ratchet. I really do like this ratchet. It's just your classic FL80 ratchet by Snap-on. I use this ratchet a lot for reassembly. I feel that this ratchet, unlike other ratchets, give me a really good feel while I'm reassembling and torquing things down, to really get a feel how tight I'm taking something. So I really like this ratchet when I'm assembling by hand. This is my go-to ratchet for reassembly. I don't disassemble too much with it, because most of my disassembly is done with an impact or some type of tool to get it done quicker, electric impact or air ratchets or electric ratchets. This is here in my service cart, although I haven't used this ratchet in a really long time. It's a Husky ratchet. It is a really good ratchet. Certainly nothing wrong with this ratchet, but I keep it in here just for a straight ratchet that's a little bit shorter than my FL80 while I'm reassembling. If I want to avoid putting too much torque on it, because that extra length, you'll end up putting more torque on it than you think you did. So I just keep it around when I'm reassembling something where I'm trying to avoid over torquing it or something like that. But for the most part, I don't really use this ratchet too much. I've just had it for so long, like some of my other tools. Just keep it around for nostalgia, I guess. But there's certainly nothing wrong with this ratchet. It's a Husky ratchet, and I've done, I can't even count how many cars I've fixed with this ratchet. So this ratchet has definitely been put to use. Next, this is going to be my favorite ratchet, and my ratchet that probably gets the most use. And this is going to be my quarter drive snap-on ratchet, flex head, release button, non-locking style, long handle for a quarter. So this is pretty much the same exact ratchet as this one. So just in a quarter version. Alright, so that brings us down to my next quarter ratchet, and this is a Tecton, and I keep this in here because it's got the roto head on it for certain scenarios. You know, I may need to use it as a driving tool like this, so you know, it's a different variety than the Flex. So you know, I try to keep for different scenarios different ratchet. So that's why I keep this one around. And then this particular ratchet I do use, and I don't pull it out all the time, but I do use it. And this is made by Tecton. Camera picked that up, but it's made by Tecton. And I use these rotating head, these round rotating head ratchets for that very reason. If I need, I just basically use it as a palm ratchet. And if I can only get one hand in somewhere, I can't get two hands in there to sort of hold it while I ratchet it to hold the bolt, and I only can get one hand in there, I'll just do this to run the bolt all the way out, and I can reach in there and get the bolt. If for some reason whatever I'm working on won't permit you to fit two hands in there, I use this to just spin the bolt out. So that's why I keep these around, keep this around. So the next part of this is going to be pry bars. So this is a Tecton pry bar. Not the greatest pry bar, but I do use it. It does pry, so I use it. I don't do heavy duty prying with it, although I used to, but I got better pry bars since then, and so I just use this for light prying. And then I got two big pry bars here, one Craftsman and one Tecton. So I got these long pry bars here that I use for if I need to do a little more heavy duty. And of course these got strike caps on them. Okay, and then moving down the line, I got some long screwdrivers here. Yeah, just some long flat and Phillips tip screwdrivers. And these are made by, the red one is made by Tecton, if I'm not mistaken. I can't find any logo on it, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Tecton is on this one. And then this one is Duralast by AutoZone, and I've had this thing for a really long time. All right, so that's pretty much it for the top. Oh, and of course we keep some bug repellent around for those evenings where mosquitoes want to come into the shop and tear us up. So we keep a little bit of mosquito repellent. All right, so the first drawer is gonna be just pliers. So the first drawer is just pliers, Channel Lock brand, Irwin brand. These are Tecton brand. These are Pittsburgh Harbor Freight. I believe I bought these at a parts store. It could be Pittsburgh or it might be a parts store brand. I don't know, but it's just a cheap pair of needle nose. Same thing with these. These might be Pittsburgh or they might be an auto parts store. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, all the pliers work great. This is Knipex wire snips. And again, this is a Irwin brand vice grips. Or actually, this is Irwin. This is Irwin needle nose vice grips. And to be honest with you, I have no idea what this is. There's no logo on it. It's just a little cheap pair of mini needle nose pliers. I can't even really remember where I got these, to be honest. They just ended up in my drawer somehow. All right, so next drawer. All right, so in this drawer, it's just extensions. Yeah, it's pretty much extensions. It's got like little screwdrivers and stuff to get electrical clips off. The third hand, as they call it. Got a couple of those in here with a valve stem tip on one side, a small pocket screwdriver. There we go. I got a knife here. This is actually my father-in-law bought me this knife. This is actually a Smith & Wesson knife. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. It's pretty glary for some reason, but it's a Smith & Wesson knife. And let's see, so got some Pittsburgh picks. I love these picks from Harbor Freight. They definitely work fine. Just a lot of like chucks for my DeWalt electric impact. I do have some continuation sockets from my 3/8 drive set that stops at 19 millimeter, and then I sort of pick it up on this little set down here. It's 20, 21, and 22, and these are 3/8 drive. So I kind of got a continuation of some larger 3/8 drive sockets that I leave down here. O2 sensor remover tool, 2 of them. This one sucks though. This one works a lot better if you're in the market for one. Got an impact swivel here. Got adapters from, that's a size reducer from 1/2 inch to 3/8, Williams brand, which we all know is a Snap-on. So I got several of those. Same thing with my swivels. I got a Williams brand swivel, aka Universals. Same thing on a 1/2 inch swivel, Williams brand. Let's see what else. got a 3/8 to 1/2 inch. This is on impact, which is also Williams. Let's see what else we got in here. Got some filler gauges, some paint markers. I use paint markers quite a bit. This is a Lincoln Electric paint marker. And got some spark plug gapping tools, 2 different styles. And just a little air chuck if I need it. Interesting, back here I got some quick and handy driving tools. These tools I beat up probably to get a stuck bolt off or something, but now that I mushroomed them out and you can't get a ratchet in them, I just use them as a driving tool, much like a punch. And then of course I got a real punch in here, a small punch. And then I also have a screwdriver that I repurposed as well. It's a cheap screwdriver where the handle broke off of it, and I just use it to tap if I need to slide this in between a seal or something. Just lightly tap in between a seal and pry it out a bit. So I got that. This is my drawer. I got some tensioner pins. Keep them every time I do a timing belt. So I got a wide variety of those in here. And then my extensions are mixed up. Everything between Matco and to Pittsburgh in here. So it's pretty mixed up. Got Craftsman extensions in here. Got a Cobalt extension in here. So quite a variety of different tools in here. Got some few long Allen sockets here. Got one here that fits GM brake calipers that I always keep in here for GM brake calipers. And that's pretty much it for the top drawer. Got a blowgun. I got a couple triple square bits in here. Yeah, this style triple square bit. Got a little driver tool made by Stanley, and a couple bits here. Do use it from time to time, but for the most part I usually just put a socket on this. If I'm tightening up, a hose clamp, I just put an 8mm on there or whatever and just tighten up a hose clamp. So I usually don't really use these bits too much. I usually just put a socket straight on that quarter square bit. Okay, so that's it for this drawer, my Mobil 1 drawer. Let's move on down to the next. Next drawer is going to be my combination wrenches, and also got a scraper tool here that I do use quite a bit, and this is a Craftsman. And so yeah, I got a scraper tool that I keep back here as well. But so yeah, I got just a combination wrench set, and these are Stanley wrenches. You can see that there. So I've had these for a really long time, and believe it or not, these wrenches are excellent wrenches. Great wrench. The boxed in portion of these wrenches are really good. Just the open end is not so great. And so I avoid using the open end on these. I have better wrenches that'll work a lot better if I need to grab real tight on the open end. I mean, light stuff, sure, but if you really need to grab and really, put a lot of torque on the open end, I don't use these. But I definitely use the box end to bust bolts with. And this top one's actually a 22mm Craftsman, the old USA style, or the old USA Craftsman with the raised panel style, like non-polished look, old school. I've had this for a really long time as well. And so yeah, it's going 22 all the way down to 8mm, with the exception to my 9mm came up missing somehow, so I'll have to replace that. All right, so that's what's in this drawer. Moving down to the next, and you guys already know what's in this drawer because I did a demo on it. Now this looks familiar, and this is my Sonex Master Impact Socket set, and I gotta go into full detail on this set because I already did a tour review on it. I'll put a link in the description if you're curious to see the tour review that I did on this set. And I will say where my chrome deeps are lacking on my Tecton set, I'll go to here for the socket if I need a 16mm or something deep that I don't have on the chrome. I'll just get it out of this set. But I do use these Tecton screwdrivers quite a bit. These probably are the second best screwdrivers, in my opinion, that I've ever used. They're pretty tough. They got pretty hard tips on them. They don't gouge out screws like real cheap screwdrivers do. The design of the handle, you know, it provides a great grip in your hand, a nice, you know, feel in the hand. Just an all-around good screwdriver. So I got a variety of these Tectons, some stubbies on Phillips and flat. Got long ones, short ones. So these are the screwdrivers that I abuse and I beat up and I pry with and I do everything you're not supposed to use a screwdriver for. That's what I use these screwdrivers for. So that's this drawer. Now let's move on to the next drawer. My K&N air filters drawer. And this particular drawer, I'll just go through the various hammers that I use. And I think this is pretty much it for all the hammers that I actually have. You know, usually just these hammers could get most jobs done. And if I need a bigger hammer or something else, you know, I'll go ahead and purchase one. But for the most part, these hammers get it done. And I'll explain the use for every hammer. So we'll start with Thor. And this hammer is basically a mallet, self-explanatory, solid, you know, self-explanatory. When you really need to like beat on something, and yeah, you really need like a nice heavy hammer to, you know, beat something off or something, or beat something on. You know, I got this mallet. I don't really use this mallet too much for the type of work that I do here. But I do have it in case I need it. This next hammer is just a little cheapo hammer, but I use it because it has this flat bottom on it, and it's really good for rear main seals when you hit them into the housing. If you take the housing off the engine, and if you got it already in there, you can just go around it and make sure that it's flush around the housing, because this bottom portion is flat. So that's what I use this side for. Also use this side as well. Typically on CV axles, when the CV axle is still splined into the hub, a lot of times after I get the bolt off, this point I'll stick right into the CV axle, and then I'll use another hammer here to push the CV axle through the hub if it's stubborn. So I have like dual purposes for this hammer. And then the next hammer, I use my wood hammer, and I use this mostly for like engine rebuilds, to knock the piston down into the cylinder. I use this bottom portion. I'll probably use this bottom wood portion more than I use this striking portion, just to knock pistons down, because I do rebuilds quite often. Next, it's going to be just a soft face hammer, and this is by Craftsman. This is a Craftsman hammer as well. I have no idea who this hammer is by. I want to say it was like not a department store. I want to say this is like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, like a big box store hammer. So, but I can't remember. And I have no idea what this hammer is. It's a Shore built. Just a little cheap hammer. So of course, this is a Craftsman hammer. And you know, it's a soft face hammer, self-explanatory. You know why I use this hammer. This is probably the most used hammer. This is a snap-on 16 ounce. This is a snap-on 16 ounce ball peen hammer with dead blow in the head. I really do enjoy these hammers. They really feel good too. Snap-on sure can make comfortable tools. So you know, it's really comfortable to work with. So that's this hammer. Same thing on this one. This one's a little more heavy duty though. This is a 32 ounce snap-on ball peen with dead blow. Good for suspension work. Last but not least, I got a dead blow hammer that I need to replace. Cheap Harbor Freight dead blow, and obviously I'm gonna step up to a better dead blow because Harbor Freight, I gave you a try on a dead blows, and you didn't deliver this time. So as many good tools as you do have, Harbor Freight, you do got some junk out there, and so yeah, I strongly discourage buying dead blow hammers from Harbor Freight if you work in a professional shop environment. They just don't hold up. So that's this ball peen, or this dead blow hammer. So obviously I'll be in the market for a much higher quality dead blow hammer, because as you can see, the Harbor Freight didn't hold up. Harbor Freight, if you're watching this, make better dead blow hammers. Okay, so I do have some tools at the very bottom. I have a slide hammer at the very bottom. I'm not gonna go into detail with it. It is a Harbor Freight slide hammer, and I also keep like long poles down there for leverage if I need to put some extra leverage, you know, on a 1/2 inch drive ratchet. So I keep these down here as well. So that's pretty much it. All right, guys, so that wraps up the toolbox tour for my red cart. On the next tour, I'll take you guys into my work desk / toolbox right here. And we'll do an in-depth tour on this one, and then we'll move on to the big Husky box in the corner. So I hope you guys like the tour. This is Brian 916. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys like and